Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for coming on this afternoon. Hope you had a great lunch. I wanted to talk to you guys about something that was really important, something that too few of us understand, but is so essential to having any degree of success, especially in our efforts to restore freedom in our time. And it's our general lack of understanding of this concept that is a really huge concern of mine. But at the same time, the more specific that we apply these principles, apply principles in general, the more pushback that you get. But I want you to listen to what I have to say and internalize the principle, internalize the truth. So I'm really only going to address it in generalities, talk about the principle, so that because this means so much to me that I want as many people as possible to understand this. But if you have a question, please pop them in the comments and give us a thumbs up and let us know where you're watching from. So what is this principle that is so important that I really want everybody to understand? This principle is false opposition, okay? It's constantly being used and almost none of us understand the idea, let alone how to do anything about it. So I want to show you an image that kind of illustrates this. For false opposition in military terms is often referred to as a Pincer strategy.
Street demonstrators turned the area of the World Trade Organization conference into a war zone.
So I want to go back to this. Sorry about that. So it's a Pincer strategy, right? In the military, you have an enemy, and to go around them on both sides and surround them, you're much more effective at conquering your enemy. And so in political terms, this is done through, you have somebody that has an agenda that they want to promote, but they realize that not everybody's going to like what they're doing, right? They start an organization that they want to do something. I'm trying to think of something. They want the organization to kick puppy dogs, right? So they understand that not everybody's going to support their agenda to kick puppy dogs. And so they have their organization that they form pushing their agenda. But what they also do is they form an organization called People Against Kicking Puppy Dogs. The people that are trying to promote kicking dogs starts an organization opposed in their name to kicking puppy dogs. That way, that anybody that opposes kicking puppy dogs joins their organization, and so that they can spin their wheels and be completely ineffective, not do anything that will actually take away from the original organization's efforts to promote kicking of dogs. Okay? And so that way, all of a sudden, we were wondering, how come there's so many more people doing this horrible thing, and nobody, nothing can be done? All of our efforts seem to be in vain. We don't understand why they're having so much success. What's going on here? Because we don't understand that we've just joined the organization that we were trying to oppose. And this is done all of the time in government and in politics, especially because they know that the people that are promoting big government and trying to destroy liberty know that they can't have success without it. And so what they do now is they start organizations that we think are for liberty, but we're actually being distracted from doing anything of effect. Now, leave a comment if you've seen this practice, and give us a thumbs up if you're following us so far. This is making sense. Let us know in the comments again if you've seen this being applied before. Now, I want to show you a video from a movie called Behind the Big News that explains this process, kind of really shows this in application, in specific application, and so you can kind of get a better idea of how this works.
Street demonstrators turned the area of the World Trade Organization conference into a war zone. Over 500 National Guardsmen and state police are called in to help restore order in what became known as the Battle of Seattle. The major media focused on the chaos and the mob's demands.
Let them go!
Yet they carefully avoided raising the issue as to how the groups on the street were organized and funded. or whether their leaders might have a hidden agenda. For those who orchestrate these events, it's the illusion that counts.
The familiar media melodrama of the anti-globalization movement that we have seen in Seattle and some of the other protest venues is really a classic example of bracketing an issue with false alternatives, because we're told that these are people who oppose the global agenda. After all, they're called anti-globalization activists. Well, what is it that they oppose? They don't oppose global government. They believe that there is too much free market capitalism in the world, and that government at a global level has to be more assertive in imposing controls over the free exchange of goods and services.
The media further stage manages the illusion of conflict by promoting those designated as the official opposition.
I'm going to focus on what the other side says and then what you say back.
The media-appointed spokesperson for the anti-WTO forces is Lori Wallach. She heads up Global Trade Watch. Ignored by the media is the fact that Wallach's organization receives funding from the Ford Foundation, which is closely tied to the CFR. The friendly relationship between Wallach and the CFR agenda was made clear in Foreign Policy magazine, a major conduit for CFR thinking. This issue signals media leaders that Lori Wallach should be represented as an expert on trade issues. By ensuring that only false opposition is offered to its revolutionary agenda, the CFR internationalists can't lose.
Okay, so that really lays out some key principles. So there isn't an article every time that shows you in so many words who the official opposition is. So you have to really understand some principles so that you can apply it to be able to identify false opposition every time, okay? So we have to understand a key principle, that media coverage, news coverage, is basically free advertising. Okay, P.T. Barnum explained that he didn't care what you said about him as long as you spelled his name right. In other words, there is no such thing as bad publicity. And the mainstream media knows this and only gives publicity, good or bad, remember that, good or bad, to their people that are placed on both sides of the issue. They will only give coverage to those that promote the acceptable narrative, good or bad, on our, supposedly on our side or the other side. The only coverage that they will give is to those that promote the acceptable narrative. One example of this that we've pointed out many times in the past is with the so-called public lands debate. The media paints the two sides as being federal versus state management, and anyone that points out the liberty option is totally ignored by the mainstream media. So the establishment in media, in government, and politics have the same goal, with the only the major differences being limited to how they get there. Okay? None of these entities will give any credibility to anyone that pushes an alternative narrative. So if the party bosses, government officials, or media give someone the time of day, that person or organization is not a threat to in any way to their overall agenda of centralized power and destroying our culture. Okay, no matter what it looks like on the surface, if they're giving them credence, they are not a threat. So now you wonder year after year why these things keep getting worse and worse, thinking this time is going to be different, right? And it isn't, because we understand that it's not going to be different, because you don't understand the nature of the enemy. Okay, that's why we're having these issues over and over again. But defending Utah is able to have had the success that we've had without mainstream media coverage, because we understand the nature of the enemy. And we're not fooled by false patriots with false solutions. And we understand what we are trying to build, and we're keeping our eye on the ball, not being led off by a lot of this false opposition out there that pretends to be on our side when they're not. So please like and share this video to help more people understand this vital principle, and remember to think right and wrong, not right and left. Nothing strikes fear into the hearts of the corrupt in Utah like the name Defending Utah. From our exclusive investigative reports to our unparalleled activism and our #1 viewed YouTube channel, defendingutah.org is where the liberty-minded look to and the establishment fears. We invite you to take the next step in defending liberty by joining Defending Utah today. For a limited time, we are giving away your choice of a free 2 or 4 day weapons training course at the world-class Front Sight Firearms Training Center when you sign up to be a supporting member at defendingutah.org. Just click on the membership tab at defendingutah.org and become a supporting member today for your free course, and tune in to K-Talk AM 1640 every Saturday at 1 p.m. for the Defending Utah radio program. Think right and wrong, not right and left.